for the hatchery project hatchery. Okay, and for the project hatchery, it's enhance students' teamwork, critical thinking, communication skill, and social skill, and report writing, and also have a new friend from different major. Okay, and now we're going to the second session for the five session for this webinar, the learning by teaching. Actually, the learning by teaching is it's suitable to be applied for grade 1 to 12 and higher education, and the method has been developed into the University of Applied Sciences, and it's belong to the educational research development and innovation methods. And the learning by teaching is an efficient method in many ways. A student from universities acting as trainers or teacher for the people from lower educational level, and then the student working in training team, which aim is to plan, organize, and implement all of the training independently. And for this session, there will be three presenters. The first, Miss Meiju Kenenen from TUAS, the same from the session before. Okay, and then Miss Atsina Fibra from Binus International University, and then the last for the session, Mr. Usman Kasim from Syekh Kuala University. And for the first, please, Miss Kenenen, to present about the learning by teaching, and for the time we will give you 10 minutes to present, and for the participant who have question, you can write down, you can type the question in question and answer box, and please Miss Yukinenen to start your presentation, and we will give you 10 minutes. Please, time is yours.
Okay, so next I will describe you a method learning by teaching.
Sorry, Miss Meiji, can you turn on your camera?
Yes, wait for a second. Can you see my picture now?
Okay, video? Great. You look so beautiful today. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will describe shortly a method learning by teaching. And it is a method where students could act as a teacher or trainers, and that way they can deepen their learning and knowledge. And in this method, students have very active role. And also in this method, like Project Hatchery, the theoretical background is innovation pedagogy. And this innovation pedagogy is our pedagogical strategy at TUAS. And at the moment, I do not have time to go more deep in innovation pedagogy, but if you are interested how we are doing things in our university, please go to the website and learn more about innovation pedagogy. And this learning by teaching method, there is also elements from activity-based learning methods and pedagogy. And how we are applying this method in our university, so there are several opportunities how to implement and apply this method. And how we started to developing this method, that the reason was that we think about how we could utilize our student expertise and how to activate they more on the learning process. And then we noticed that when they acting as a teacher or trainer, they could deepen their learning, and they will have very active role in the learning process. So in this picture you can see how different ways we are implemented that. So students in the same course could train each other, so you can utilize inside the classroom. Or you can utilize this method in that way that students train students from different disciplines. For example, in our faculty, our sales students are teaching our engineer students about presentation and interaction skills. And also students could train pupils from lower educational level. That is also good one example. Then you can use this method that more advanced students train peers. For example, we are using this method in mathematics and physics. Or then upper grade student could be as a coach or trainer for lower grade students, and in that case we have tutor students in our campus. And also in my last presentation, Project Hatchery method, we are implementing or applying this method. And when students are more advanced and more talented, we can also use them as experts or co-trainers in different our external trainings or different actions in our projects or our activities in research groups. And we have also applied this method in that way that our students train local company staff. For example, sales or social media or whatever. What are the needs of the local companies? So different ways to apply this method. And for this presentation I have chose one case. It is our research and development project MILLI, where in this project aim is boosting sales competition among youth with this learning by teaching method. So in this case, students from TUAS are teaching younger upper secondary school students in sales skills. And also one of the aim of this project was also research about this method, how it works as a pedagogical method. And we made some interviews and we have done observations in the classrooms and also cater different kind of feedback from all the players and participants. So how we use this learning by teaching method in this project? Students from universities, they acting as a trainers, like teachers, for pupils from lower educational levels, from high school and also vocational schools. And the students work in teams. There were 3 to 5 students per team, and they have to plan, organize and implement all this training independently. So they prepare all the contents of the trainings, materials and all exercise and tasks for the participations. And in this method, teacher's role is just guide and give support for these trainer teams, not teaching, just guiding and supporting. And how these teams worked? So they brush up chosen training subject and cater all kind of different information about the content, references, videos, whatever. And then they prepare training lessons, contents, material, task, and also homeworks for the students or for the pupils. And before they started these trainings, they have to present their plans for the teachers and other teams. And then based on the feedback from teachers and other teams, they make final editing to the their training plans. And during these trainings, teacher and teams have regular meetings where good practices are shared and also problems and challenges in this situation are discussed and solved together. So teacher's role is giving support and guidance. And in this method, assessment is based on self, peer and teacher assessment, as well as feedback from the participations of trainings, pupils or teachers. And also in this method, when student has acting as a trainer or teacher, they will also get the certificate for that. And here in my last slide, there is some result about this method. So it showed, our research showed that this is very effective method in several ways and provide a lot of benefits for all members, so teachers, pupils and also these trainers learned a lot. For example, in interviews, teachers said that they got a lot of new ideas for their own teaching work when they seeing and or observing this training session. And they also learned a new role as a teacher, because now they have to put effort on the guidance and feedback, not being in the front of the classroom and teach. And pupils and participation, they were very satisfied, because these tutor teachers, they are like role models for these younger ones. And they said that this kind of when a student from university are teaching them, it's a positive variation to the traditional lessons, and that therefore increase their motivation. And when I observed all this training session, I noticed that the atmosphere in the classroom was totally different comparing to the traditional teacher-centered classes. The atmosphere was positive and very open, and there were a lot of interaction and discussion between students, because there were no hierarchy between teacher and students or pupils. And what the students from in the trainee, what they learned, so they learned to plan, organize and implement these kind of things. And also they had a great opportunity to apply theory in practice. So they have studied theory beforehand, and then they have a great opportunity to apply it further and teach to others. And one very important thing was also that self-confidence and responsibility. They said that they really get a lot of that, learning that. And for example, one of my students said that she was a third-year student, so almost in the graduating phase. So she said that I haven't learned more from this course than other course during my studies. So they really like this method and see that this is a lot of benefits in many levels. So thank you. That was my part, and next my Indonesian colleagues will share their experience, how they have implemented this method in different ways.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meiju. Yeah, it's interesting. Another interesting method, learning by teaching. So the student have experiences because they share the knowledge to the other student, the lower grade student. Okay, we will hear the experiences from Miss Atsina Fibra from Binus International University. Uh, yeah, she managed various education program in national and international level. Currently, she involved in a 3-year INDOPRED project with a consortium of 5 European. And now, evaluation. Yeah. Okay, she teach project hatchery, anthropology, and character building subjects in INDOPRED project. She is developing learning by teaching by learning method. Okay, please, Miss Aksina Fibra, the time is yours. Okay, Miss Aksina. Ada. Kita next ke. Where are you? Osman Basir. Ada. Okay, I think we have to move to another presenter. Please, Mr. Usman Kasim from Syekh Kuala University to present, to share to all of us here about the implementation, the learning by teaching method in Syekh Kuala University. Please, Mr. Usman, the time is yours.
Oh, Bapak belum dikasih warna, tunggu belum Pak. Nah, itu warnanya mana? Pak, Bapak udah dikasih wewenang belum?
Ini udah dikasih.
Udah?
Udah, dipersilakan.
Oh, udah. Saya buka itu.
Ya, maaf kan.
Share my screen udah. Udah. Buka PowerPoint-nya. Yang PowerPoint Bapak mana? Nggak, ini buka PowerPoint-nya. Itu udah dari
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Samadi, Mr. Usman with you?
Yes, I'm trying to check my PowerPoint.
Okay, please.
PowerPoint Bapak di sini mana? Ini udah di-share screen-nya ini.
Tapi kok nggak ada? Nanti kan katanya udah ada.
Ya, sekarang di laptopnya.
Di laptop.
Yang di sini.
Ini kan, ini. Nah, ini kan.
Coba buka. Ini kan Bapak simpan. Enggak. Ya, coba. Udah ada belum?
Coba di gimana?
Mana ini tadi? Coba udah lagi sekarang.
Tadi kok dia kasih masuk sih, Rahman. Ya. Nah, itunya kok nggak nampak.
Okay, Mr. Usman, we can see you clearly here. Maybe you can share your presentation by clicking the share button on the up left. Okay, you can see your presentation now. Okay, you can continue to present. Don't forget to slide show your presentation.
Yes, good afternoon to all my INDOPRED friends in Indonesia, and good morning, my colleagues in Finland or other parts of Europe. Well, I have been assigned to give my presentation on the implementation of learning by teaching method at Syekh Kuala University called UNSIA. Let me begin by describing first the backgrounds. As you know, that the name of the course is English Language Teaching Method, which has value for 4 credits with 2 sessions each week. And each session lasts for about 100 minutes. So the objective is to equip students with approaches and method of English language teaching. This is a new curriculum that we are implementing. I think this curriculum is in line with the new method we are implementing because this method requires 60% theory and 40% practice. Before the workshop was conducted, students were presented with some theories on material covering approaches, method, technique, and classroom management as to make the student have a good mastery of the material before they conducted workshop. And of course, this was done by lecturings, student presentation, students presentation, and video show. Of course, before we conducted workshop, we should know what actually learning by teaching method or LBT is. This method is a method where students learn as they teach each other. Students from universities act as trainers for pupils and working in trainer team, 3 to 5 students per team. And its task is to plan, organize, and implement all the trainings independently. They also plan and prepare contents of the training, all the material and tasks for pupils. Learning by teaching is the same as that LDL stands for Lernen durch Lehre in German. Sorry. The expected learning outcome from these LBTs are collaborative skill, communication or presentation skill, instructional skill, understanding the new trends in language teaching, or post method applying teaching method which are relevant to the goal and the characteristic of the learners. And of course, applying appropriate classroom management in teaching learning, and students deepen their knowledge from the subject of training or method of ELT. And students learn to plan, organize, and implement training. And they also learn how to guide and teach individual in small and large group. Before the workshop implemented, students in group held several meetings to discuss about some preparation, anything needed for the workshop. Students presentation of workshop business plan, so they of course presented the business plan first before they went to the field to conduct workshop. The business plan they made included specifying the workshop title and details. They plan the topic session, decide the type of session, and decide the amount of time needed for each session. And they also specify the content of each session, the person leading for each session, and they also plan interactivity, for example, group activity, games, etc. And they plan time breaks, prepare questionnaire for feedback, and they also design banners. When conducting the workshop, during the workshop, when they began, of course, they gave greeting and welcoming everyone, and they get to introduce to each other. And of course, they create opportunity for interaction, to use different methods to demonstrate during the workshop. For example, presentation, discussions, etc. They also obtain feedback from the participant, present certificate to the participant, and prepare a report of the workshop. This method was first implemented on Saturday, May 20, 2017, from 9:15 to 10:30 for Group 1. And the material presented was communicative approach, which included role-play technique. And the number of participants of the workshop was 15 students from English Education Department, from State Islamic University of Araniri. During the pre-activities, the student trainer asked their lecturer, Mr. Usman Kasim, to open the workshop formally. And of course, in his remark, he explained briefly about the purpose of the workshop and what actually LBT, or learning by teaching, is. During pre-activities, the trainer student greeted the participants who were already in the classroom, and the participant, the fourth semester undergraduate student of English Education Department of UIN. And the students were, of course, already there, sitting and then listening attentively to the trainer in the classroom. The core activities, one of the trainer students began presenting what actually communicative language teaching was by using PowerPoint. So she began by explaining the definition of CLT and a brief history of the emergence of CLT, which came up with the new ideas in language teaching, again the traditional approach. And the other training student discussed about the principle, the objective, and the curriculum or syllabus type under the CLT. The student participants were sitting and listening during the process of explanation. Then the other trainer student explains about classroom management, group work, the role of the teacher, and the role of the student during the learning and teaching process. Of course, they share their tasks and they share also the times. He further mentioned the techniques under the CLT method and explained the method. And the other student trainer played a video show on the use of role-play technique for a few minutes. And afterward, the student participants were asked to sit in group of 3 to discuss the positive and negative points of the implementation of the role-play technique in teaching English. And the way of grouping was based on the number 1, 2, 3, 4 stated by the trainer. The students then were in group discussing about the video for 5 minutes. During the discussion, all students were actively talking or contributing their thought to their group. And 3 of the student trainers were walking around offering help and monitoring to make sure that everybody was working in group or not. And then the report was given by Group 1. Each group presented the result of the discussion. Question and answer session were then given and the discussion was running well. And during the discussion, the questions raised were on how to teach grammar and many other questions. And one of the trainer students responded that we should integrate grammar in communication. For the post activities, the last 5 minutes, a conclusion was made regarding the presented material on communicative language teaching or communicative approach. The student participants were listening to the student's trainer. The following 3 sessions were presented by other 3 groups of student trainer on different topics. This workshop actually lasted for 1 day, and from 9 o'clock a.m. up to the 6 o'clock p.m. And then, of course, the assessment was done during, before, during, and also after the workshop. By using the instrument, for example, yeah, lectures using self-assessment. Based on the observation conducted, it shows that the majority of student trainers were actively involved in the project. Also, the workshop was only one time conducted. Based on the feedback from the questionnaires, it shows that the majority of the students responded positively to the LBT method. Some problems faced during the implementation. This method actually is time consuming for both the teacher and student, probably because of that was the first time we implemented the method. Student participants were busy with other courses or assignments, causing them to have difficulties to get together for the workshop. The unavailability of the room for the workshop, that's also a problem because so many other students were using the room. Problem with schedule. Since it was not compulsory for the student participant, it was not easy to make them come to the workshop. And the students' established previous learning experience may hinder the implementation because it takes time for adjustment. Regardless of the problem mentioned, this LBT method is also applied to other courses this semester on the course of Principle and Management of Language Learning at undergraduate program and the part linguistic and at graduate program and in this semester. Well, thank you. That's all our presentation about learning by teaching method at Shakwala University. Once again, thank you very much for the time given to me.
Okay, thank you, Pak Usman, for the presentation. So from Mr. Usman presentation, it's implement in English department, yeah, for the English department student. So to implement this method, so the student have to prepare everything before they teach in the classroom. So they have to determine the competencies, what they have to teach to the student and others. So they have to make a plan and then they teach, and then also they have to evaluate on everything they have already done. And next we have now Ms. Atsina Fibra from the International University. Yeah, please, Ms. Atsina, to share your implementation about this method to our participant here. Please, time is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, Bapak, Ibu, and Mayu. Good morning. I would like to share about learning by teaching, the method that we learned from Turku University partner, and I implemented it in 2 classes in BINUS International Campus. As already explained by Mayu, it's a very simple concept that the learners learn through teaching others. So that's why the name is learning by teaching. But we will go through the implementations and what are the challenges and the benefits that we learn through the implementations of these pilot classes. Next. Okay, last semester I used this new teaching method in 2 classes named Sociology and Anthropology, and then Anthropology and Introduction to Indonesian Culture. In Sociology and Anthropology Culture, it's 4 SU or 4 SKS in Bahasa. It is for the second semester students. They just graduated from high school and just joined us at the university. And their backgrounds, the students come from communications and marketing programs. The classroom size, 25 students, and the assignment in this LBT, they have to teach in high schools. The length of the implementation is 1 semester or 13 weeks in our semester period. And then for the second class, it's the Anthropology and Introduction to Indonesian Culture. This is a much older student, 4th semester student. They are mixed students from BINUS International and exchange students from Japanese, Korean, Netherlands, and some other European countries. The classroom size is bigger, 35 students, the same assignment and the same length period of implementation. The assessment for both classes, the student will get 30% of the total score from doing the learning by teaching. So it's a very important process that they have to do through the semester. So on the week 1, as a lecturer, I explain about the instructions. They have to form a team, 3 students in one team. Why only 3 students? So when they teach in the high school, it will not intimidate the classroom. If we have 5 students in a team, it's too big. So that's why I choose 3 students in a team. And then they contact the schools where they want to teach. I give them selections of topic. We choose it randomly in the classroom, and then one team got one topic, and then I, as a faculty member or the lecturer, provide consultation time. For example, some students, for the young one, they are very nervous. They feel like they don't have the competency to teach, so I give them consultation time how to teach the young student and also check their material, is it appropriate or not for the high school student. And then they also write and present a report after they complete the activities. So because of the implementations take 13 weeks, so the team that who has not completed the teaching task, they will do presentations of their teaching material, and report will be submitted later when they finish the teaching task. But the team who has completing the teaching task, they will present during the exact week based on the agreement. So, but I will show you the timeline. So in the class, the students given 8 topics, and the team will choose one topic. If, for example, the student get team number 1, they have to present on week 3. But if they have not taught in the school yet at that time, they just need to present their preparations, and later on they will submit the report. But for example, the student got team number 6, for example, they got present on week 9. That means they already complete the teaching assignment. Then they will share to the class their experience of teaching when they do the presentation. As explained by our partner from UNSIA, and also it's a very time consuming, even though the name of the method is very simple, but mostly we spend a lot of time on planning. First, on planning, we spend like 1 month for the student to choose the team members, select a topic, create a list of potential schools, writing a proposal to school, contacting the schools, writing a lesson plan, completing the teaching materials, and then doing a rehearsal. So it takes like 1 month preparations. And then I give them another 1 month, so they can choose to present to the school, teaching in the classroom, but I give them guideline, how to write a lesson plan, so they know when teaching they have to do introductions, ice-breaking game, delivering materials, evaluation, and documentations. After they're completing the teaching in the school, they will do the reflections, what they have learned individually and as a team. So that's conducted after they completed the teaching in the school. So in this process, students just contact their former schools, but some of them don't want to go to their own school because they're too shy to teach their young one or to meet their teachers, so they choose completely new schools. The challenges that we face during the uh, pilot classes are the first, as a lecturer, I have to provide consultation time after class, and then rehearsal schedule and weekly presentation in campus. Sometimes we have to match it with the student schedule, when is their teaching schedule. And then the university and high school schedules, because at that time it was April and May, it's about the same time as the national exam period for high school. So the student found difficulty to get access to teach in a school, but they have to be very patient and then get the approval from school to teach later on in May. And then as a lecturer, I have to check and double check to make sure that everything is on track. No one left behind and prepared to go to school. And the teaching schedule sometime in the school changed a day before or 2 days before, and it caused 2 of our international students could not join the teaching session because they have to attend another event outside Indonesia. So they kind of disappointed because they already prepared the material, they do the rehearsal, but when they want to teach in high school, but then the school said the schedule has been changed. The benefits, of course, there are a lot of benefits, and I would like to continue this learning by teaching method. The students become more confident, especially the young one, and they also found a new motivation to learn. Also, they respect the teacher's role. They have kind of empathy. They say it is difficult to teach, actually, and then that's what they learn. Besides teaching, of course, because they have to do proposal, lobbying, so they got another social skills like negotiating, lobbying the school, managing time, being persistent, teamwork, communicating effectively in public. And last but not least, the student learned the concept in a different and more meaningful way. Rather than the lecturer taught them about the concept of anthropology or sociology, and they have to memorize it. This is for them it's more meaningful way when they learn it by themselves, and then they find a way to teach others. The surprising facts when we did this pilots, the younger student completed the LBT task faster than their senior students, and they are more enthusiastic and they are more prepared. Maybe because they just graduated from high school, so when they return to high school, they want to look mature and prepared. But the senior students, because they have a lot of other tasks from their program, so they have to scramble their schedule for this one. And I heard that one team have to contact 4 to 5 schools, and they've been rejected many times, but they still being very persistent. And in the end, all teams are able to do presentations or teaching in the school. The roles as the learning by teaching teacher, as explained by Mayu, I played the role of facilitator and motivator. Sometimes they feel sad being rejected by school. They feel that this task is too difficult, and we have to motivate them time to time. This is some pictures taken from our student and the international student as well. Next. I put some reflections from our BINUS international students. Here it is mentioned by Nandi. I would think that the teaching style needs to be more interesting, which means not being too serious. Since the students are still high school, which are not much different from our age, we should teach them with more friendly style. We should not teach the way like the lecturer or teacher teach the student. And next time we should come more punctually, so at that time they might come on not enough time to do preparations in the classroom. And then now the second student mentioned, I think that today presentation with PowerPoint slide will be something monotone. So as a lecturer, now I also learned that the students say using PPT or PowerPoints is boring. It can make the student become bored. Therefore, there must be more teaching aids, which is not just PowerPoint. We can use real tools that is related to the topic of the teaching in order to make the audience pay more attention, and everything must be dynamic. So from these two students, actually the lecturer, as a lecturer of my students, I also reflect that I reduced the number of using PowerPoint in my classroom. And these other two, as you see on the screen, Naura mentioned by preparing the material, I also obtained some knowledge that I could share with my juniors during my teaching at Al-Azhar. And then Cesar mentioned it focused us to learn the topic in depth, yet also forced us to be able to understand it in a simple and concise explanations and integrate it into a daily life example. And this one from exchange student reflections. Annalus from Netherlands said that I achieve a lot more than only course learning outcomes. For me, an exchange student, I had a chance to learn more about Indonesian culture, not only in a class, but also the experience of being welcome at a high school. You can imagine how different values are in the Netherlands and Indonesia. By experience other values, I achieved my main goal of my stay here. Without this course, I would probably not be at high school in Indonesia and not achieve the goal. So I really did not want to miss this practice and involvement. So the exchange student, they really appreciate this kind of activity. I also ask the student to collect feedback from their schools. This is just some of example. There are 3 students here. Their comments are exciting and easy to follow because there are a lot of examples given. Materials are not textbook, therefore we receive more knowledge. New experience in learning anthropology material looks like sociology, but it is more deeper. And then they also give feedbacks to our students. So the high school student give feedback to the university student. Please use more bahasa, because in our campus we use English, so maybe the student have a mixed language when they do presentations. Need to be more longer, so they ask for extra time to do the activity. And then there are many new terminology and difficult to understand. So there are some feedbacks from the high school student. And then from the teacher, this one is from Mr. Nova, sociology teacher in high school. He gave a comment. The team have in-depth material and excellent teaching approach to high school students, broad information and interesting way of delivering material. It made the students more enthusiastic in learning and listening to the presenters. The feedback from him, this kind of program needs to be more often conducted in school because it is a new experience for both sides, the university student and high school students. And this is some pictures again, another pictures. Next. And that's it. If you are interested in doing this, you can, and if you have any questions, you can always contact me. This is my contact info. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yaslina, for your presentation. And let's see clear differences between Coursera and then from Binus. In Sierra University, is the student is prepared for become a teacher because it's from the Faculty of Teacher and Training and Education from Sierra University. But from Binus, it must be something challenging for the student. Okay, because they are not from teacher and training and education because they not prepared to become a teacher. Okay, we have some question here. This is the question for Mr. Usman. Okay. Is there your heavy activity of applied learning by teaching, start from preparation, implementation, and evaluation would be burden and frustrating for them? Is it correct? This question for you, Mr. Usman.
Can you repeat the questions again?
Is it heavy activities? Is it hard to apply the LBT from preparation, implementation, and evaluation for the student, for your student, and for you? And how you can motivate the student to so they can implement the method.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Actually, all the beginning is difficult, but very important here is our commitment to improve the learning and teaching process. We are trying to make the students learn more from us and from what they need. And the implementation, of course, has some problem at the first time we tried. But this problem will gradually disappear as we get experience. The first time when I tried to give this task to the student, all the students look pale. That means they rejected the assignment. But I try hard to convince them, to motivate them. But once they tried, one time, two times, and then they became interested in doing the task given to the student, because they did not only learn in the classroom, but they can also learn more from outside of the classroom. After the completion of the project, of the workshop, they realized that method, LBT method, was very good, and they really enjoyed, and they learned more from this method, and they had never experienced before. That's why this semester we are trying to implement this LBT method in 4 classes, both at graduate programs and undergraduate program. And other teachers also are curious to know this kind of method, and they also want me to share about this method to them, and they also say they are eager to implement this method. I think that's all my response. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Usman. So this is the question for Ms. Mayhu. Learning by teaching is like a peer teaching, yeah? And how we choose the student to make them as the mentor, and how we how we can know that he is the student that good in teaching, something like that? Is that okay if upper grade students come into lower grade student classroom? Yeah? Miss Meiju, there's a question for you. Learning by teaching is like a peer teaching, and how we choose the student to make them as a mentors, and when we train them and how we train them so they will be prepared for become a mentor. And is it okay if upper grade student come into lower grade student classroom? Please, Miss Meiju.
Question. So also in our case, like my Indonesian colleagues, we started to prepare our students just explaining what is the method and explaining new roles of the teacher and student. And I think that also in this method, like in innovation in general, that that students are learning when they are doing things. So when they get more and more experience, they are more prepared and more prepared to the mentor task. And but of course it needs sometimes motivation and lot of support and guidance to the student. It is not easy task to acting as a teacher, so it needs that teacher is walking around or walking with and trying to support and encourage student in this task. And also I think that this method could be applied in different levels of education, but then should think about clearly what is the topic what the students are teaching to others.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Maybe for the teaching by learning is the same, yeah, like in Indonesia is PPL, yeah, program pengalaman lapangan is the same, but it's for teaching, training, and education faculty usually, something like that for the student who will try to be a teacher. But for some other department of some major, it must be challenging because they have to share the knowledge and try to share the knowledge in the classroom because they have to prepare everything about the lesson plan, about the material and actual and then the evaluation. It must be challenging, and we already hear the experience from Venus International University that the student is from major anthropology and sociology. Okay, I think it's enough for the learning by teaching, and we go to our last session for today for the